Hello, hello, everyone. You listen to another episode of Let's Talk Sports with Tim McCain. I am here with Kevin, the Hebrew Hammer Shrouder. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. So, my first question to you is, where did the nickname the Hebrew Hammer come from? I have to ask you that question first.
That works. So basically, where it came from is I'm Jewish. I'm not a great Jew, by the way, but growing up as you know, being a Jewish kid or whatever, Christmas is usually like the focal point and everything, which is awesome and all good. It's a great holiday, but like there's not really like too many like Jewish movies like for kids. You could there's probably like a top 50 list of like great Christmas movies, and I love a lot of them too. But as far as like Jewish movies, like you can really think like, I don't know, you got like Eight Crazy Nights from like Adam Sandler. You got like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which is like the saddest movie ever. And then there was this really like terrible like B-level comedy movie on Comedy Central called The Hebrew Hammer, and it was basically like the Jewish version of Shaft.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's totally out there. I love the movie, but it's terrible. Like Andy Dick plays an evil Santa Claus. But basically what happened is I used to joke around with one of my old teammates and my coaches and be like, oh man, like all we have is the Hebrew Hammer. And then one day they were just like, man, we're just gonna start calling you the Hebrew Hammer. So like I came to my old gym one day and on my locker it said Hebrew Hammer, and it just was like, all right, I guess we're just rolling with it. So that's kind of how it happened in a nutshell.
That's what's up. So, my next question to you is, when did your love for the fight game begin? Do you remember the first time you put on some gloves, and what was that feeling like for you?
Yeah, the first time I started training in Taekwondo when I was about 14. I took I'll never forget it. I took my first class because I used to get bullied and picked on quite a bit when I was a kid, and I was just like, man, I want to do something. And luckily, my family found a really cool Taekwondo gym near my house at the time, so I went in there and I learned 4 moves. I learned 3 basic kicks: a front kick, a side kick, a round kick, and a wrist lock. And as cliche as it sounds, like I did the class and I just fell in love with it. I loved doing it. And then from there, it just kind of grew. I ended up watching a really old video of Hoist Gracie fighting Chemo back at like UFC 3. Obviously, this was years later after it happened, but I watched it. I was like, oh, that looks so cool, man. I got to learn that. I want to learn that. And it just kind of progressed from there. And then I got into jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and MMA. And man, it was, story just kind of told itself. It was great. I loved it.
So, Kevin, my next question to you is this. So, in the fight game, you have to learn so many different styles to compete against different people. Like, what are some of the styles that you that are some of your favorite, and one of the styles that you want to continue to improve on?
Yeah, first of all, I'd love to improve on everything for sure. But one of my favorite styles would definitely be more the stand-up game. Like I love Muay Thai and kickboxing. Over the past few years, I started training at a legitimate Muay Thai gym. So I'm honing that, and I've really fallen in love all over again with striking. Being at 8 Points Muay Thai, where I train at now. As far as one of the things that I definitely I'm always working on is probably my wrestling and my jiu-jitsu. I still love it. I train actively in it. But if I was to pick one out of them all, I would definitely say, I could probably use some more wrestling. But Muay Thai and stand-up is my passion. It's my love. I've loved the stand-up guy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you're right, man. Stand-up definitely is a crowd pleaser. But I also feel like takedown defense is something that, stand-up guys have to work on. So, like, if you're facing a wrestler, what are some of the things that you guys will be working on in camp to defend against a guy? Because he's going to set up punches. You know what I'm saying? He's not really looking to punch you. He's really looking to take you down. So the punch is a setup. So how are you and your team, how do you guys work on, if you were facing a wrestler, how would you work on that takedown defense? And do you let a guy who's a wrestler, do you allow him to just stand up with you?
Yeah, most definitely. It's kind of situational. It depends on the particular opponent because some guys are really good wrestlers, some guys are average, mediocre. Depending on what their skill set is. But primarily, if I'm fighting a wrestler, you definitely want to try and establish a good punch, a good jab, because you want to kind of keep them at bay, and you obviously work on a lot of sprawls. stuff like that. And if you do get taken down, a lot of things to, maybe sweep or get back to your feet ultimately. But yeah, a lot of it would just be sprawl, like the old Chuck Liddell style, kind of sprawl and brawl thing, make them pay for every time they go to shoot in on you. If you do shoot in on me, you're going to eat a few if you do get the takedown. And then I'm going to try and get back to my feet as fast as possible because you're in the fight game. You know how it is. You get that takedown, and you get right back to your feet. That's taxing on both of you. That's not just taxing on me. That's taxing on you. And then that kind of messes up your confidence a little bit. You're like, oh man, I worked so hard. I finally got this takedown. Oh man, now we're back to our feet again. Okay, now I just beat you a little bit mentally too, because now you got to do it again, and results probably gonna be similar.
I got you. So what do you take from both your wins and your losses, and how do you go forward with those?
I mean, it's one of those things, like the old saying goes, it's either you lose or you lose or you learn kind of thing. For my wins, they're great. They kind of, they give you that euphoric feeling. Like there's nothing more satisfying in the world than having a good training camp and then getting your hand raised. And I feel like for my wins, it helps your confidence. But you may not look at all the things that you may improve on. Whereas, my losses, which I've had a few, there's a lot of things that I see in there did. And I'm like, man, I should have did this. I should have did that. And it really helped me in the long run to become a more complete fighter. It showed a lot of holes in my game that I used to have that I feel like I've patched up, or continue to patch up because no one's perfect. But I definitely have learned more from my losses than I have from my wins.
Got you. So the mentality of a fighter, when you're in the octagon and you're facing a guy, he's better than what you expected, right? He's better than what your corner people they thought, this guy, you thought it might have been an easy guy. Mm-hmm. How do you feel like you would mentally prepare for a fight? Well, not mentally prepare for a fight, but mentally change your mindset within a fight to go to that second gear?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me personally, I look at everybody as a tough opponent. Of course, you might go in a mindset, like you said, you might think he's a little easier than he might have been. And if that's the case, like I train hard. I have all the confidence in the world in me, my coaches, my training partners, that if he is better than what I thought, maybe he's getting a little bit better at me in one round. You go back, you reassess, and you just rise to the occasion. It's like anything, like just like in my regular personal life, I've been knocked down many, many times, just like everybody else, especially during this crazy 2020. You just, you get knocked down, you brush yourself off for a second and you just get up and you just keep going. You keep going forward, and maybe you have to change course a little bit. Maybe you're going against a guy who you thought his stand-up wasn't that good. The rest stand-up's a little better. Okay, I may have to shoot a takedown now. I'm gonna have to switch up my game plan a little bit. Maybe I get away from leg kicks and go more to my jab, or maybe I go for the takedown. So it's like anything. It's a game of chess. You just have to reevaluate.
Yes, sir. So my next question to you. So you're facing James Brown, Ultimate Battleground 5, Myrtle Beach. What's your mindset going into the fight, and how's training during COVID?
I've been lucky. I still been able to train for the most part. Obviously we had to stop a little bit too. But, even if I'm not in the gym, people, if you want to win, you get after it. You figure out a way. Back when I was younger, like when I was like 18, 19, like I was a little bit hard on times. Didn't have a car. I couldn't get to training. So there was a lot of times I used to call them my little home workouts. I'd be out in my backyard, just making up my own workouts, making up my own things. And, I kind of had to get a little old school with it for a little bit, kind of go back to my roots. Like, all right, this is how you started. It's kind of poetic, you kind of come full circle again, and we do it again. But, I'm back in the gym. I've been back in the gym for a few months. Like I said, I got great training partners. They push me, day in, day out. They're trying to break me, which is great, because the more they break me down is the higher that ceiling is going to be come fight night. Like you said, I'm fighting James Brown. I've seen him fight a few times. He's a tall guy. He's fast. He's got good kicks. He's a good stand-up guy. He fights out of obviously a very reputable gym with Derek Brunson. So, I'm not looking past him. It's going to be a hard fight. It's going to be a tough fight. But I'm going to give him everything I have. And if he thinks this is an easy fight, it's going to be a long night for him. I promise you, because I'm coming for that win.
Yes, sir. I can tell by your face you're coming for that win, man. That's respect.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, Kevin, what are your personal keys to success? Like, what keeps you motivated, and what kind of things do you use to continue going in your MMA journey?
There's a couple things. One, for the first and foremost is yeah, I train a lot, and one thing that really helps motivate me on those days that like I don't want to get out of bed, like I'm tired, like I work a full-time job, I train full-time, there's some days, man, like I don't want to get up, but what's always in the back of my head is I think about my grandmother. My grandmother raised me since I was about 2.5 years old, and she was the one and only person to always support me in this. Even when other people were like, man, what are you doing, bro? You're too little, you're too this, you're too that, and I told her I wanted to do it. And of course she was like, oh, I don't know. This seems kind of crazy, but she saw how much I loved it and she always supported me with it. So, I just think about that, and unfortunately I lost her, back when I was 19, but, her memory is always with me. So every time I start to feel, I start doubting myself or something like that, I just think about her, and I just think about that little voice in the back of my head saying, like, those days where I was tired, and she'd be, all right, come on, Kevin, you said you want to do this, you got to get up, let's go do it, go to the gym, go train. And I just keep that in my head. That's the number one motivator for me. Is right there. I always have that little voice in the back of my head. And second is, I always want to be better than I was yesterday. The only person I'm trying to beat is myself. As cliche as that sounds, I know a lot of people say that, but it's true. There's nobody out there that's going to beat me up more than I beat myself up on a daily basis. So if I can overcome myself today and tomorrow and so on, it's good. It just is what it is, But that's how I motivate myself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, where can people find you on social media, and what's your expectations for the fight?
First, as far as social media, Facebook, Kevin Schroeder. Um, Instagram is a K fighter, K_fighter 23. If you want to hit up my Snapchat, it's potatoes and gravy, especially because, Thanksgiving's coming up, even though I'm going to miss some turkey. I'm going to miss some turkey, but it's okay. It's okay. I'm going to eat it afterwards. As far as my expectations for the fight, I expect a war. I expect me and him to go out there. I know he's a stand-up guy. I know I'm a stand-up guy. I expect it to be, basically a Muay Thai kickboxing fight with gloves on. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I don't think it's going to go all 3 rounds. Someone's getting knocked out. Mm-hmm. Whether it's me, whether it's him, I'm going in there with a full set of steam. I'm sure he's going in there with a full head of steam. And it's going to be fireworks. All I can say is I hope you guys come out. I hope you watch. If you physically can't make it all the way to South Carolina, depending where you're at, I know they'll have a stream and you could watch it online. But other thing is, man, just don't blink. Don't blink. Someone's going to sleep. That's it.
You heard it here from Kevin Schroeder. Don't blink, and it's going to be fireworks. Y'all, you guys do not want to miss this fight. James Brown, Kevin Schroeder. Thank you very much, Kevin. Really appreciate you, man.
No, man. Thank you, dude. I appreciate the time.
Yes, sir, man. You have a blessed one.
Hey, man, you too.